Hello, everyone. Welcome to Payments Beyond Africa, your podcast that covers finance and cross-border payments, telling you about the solution that CPayant offers that lets you send money instantly, securely, and affordably across 50 plus African countries. Of course, when we started, we talked about introducing guests and key opinion leaders from finance and the cross-border trade industry. But on this episode, we'll be talking about one of our own and someone in-house. We'll try to learn a bit about what goes on behind the scene, so you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the fun chat with us. But before that, I would like to give the floor to my guest today to tell us a bit about himself. So over to you.
Okay, I'm Razaq Momodu, and I'm the in-house product designer for CPayant. I design everything across platforms, from the mobile application to the web application to the website, and everything that basically has to do with design. And as long as it has to do with CPayant, I am the one responsible for that. And I've been with CPayant for about a year now, and it's been a fun ride all through.
Great. Thank you for that warm introduction. So, what do you do at CPayant? You gave us, let's say, a surface level, introduction into what you do at CPayant. But what we exactly want to know is this: like, what does your typical day look like? Especially how you prioritize tasks. You told us what you do. You are responsible for design, and I have also had the privilege of working with you. So, what does your typical day look like at CPayant, especially how you prioritize tasks? Do you like going heads on with the complex ones first, or maybe you just want to, play with the simple ones and then as time goes on, take on the complex tasks?
Yeah. Again, what I do is product designing, and product designing is basically like have been there from the start of the product to making decisions to optimizing how users interact with our product. And a typical day with CPayant is basically, we are currently remote, so there's a stand-up meeting by 10 a.m. So by 10 a.m., you have your task for the day. We have sprints that are organized, and for each sprint, there is successful milestones that we really have to, you have to hit the targets for each sprint, and the sprints can go on for weeks depending on what we are tackling at the moment. So, like I said, the way I approach task is I like to go with the complex ones first. Because when you go with the complex ones first, it gives this ease of mind of, okay, I am done with the hard ones. So then you're just easing into the simple ones. So working at CPayant has really, helped me grow as a person, because, when I started off, I was just, particular about, product design, websites, UI, everything related. But then, we started off as a really small team. I felt like we had to, multitask. We had to, learn more to be more than we currently are. So it started off as just, learning product designing, being a product designer, and then it became, oh, I think I actually have to learn graphics designing as well. So from there, then I also designed graphics for CPayant, and then from there, I also had to okay, you're no longer just a graphic designer. Now you're particularly like the brand designer. So CPayant has really, really helped me grow, especially in my design journey. I wouldn't say right now I'm like a product designer. I would say like with CPayant, yeah, I've dabbled into every aspect of design that there is to design. And I've basically moved from, designing web experiences to actually designing real life experiences. And fun fact, the shirt we have on right now was designed by me. So that's
Wow.
that's something to just throw in there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And for those listening and viewers everywhere, we would like you to make sure you go download the CPayant app. You can access CPayant from the web app. You can download the app on Apple App Store or Google Play Store. So CPayant lets you transfer money across Africa. Wherever you are in Africa, whether you are traveling, whether you are looking forward to doing business, CPayant is that app that offers everything and allows connects all countries across Africa with simple, affordable, and fast payment. So make sure to download the CPayant app and use the web app if you are particularly someone who is maybe always on your desktop or laptop on the internet. So you can also ensure that you follow us across all our channels. Follow us on Facebook. We share insightful information about how to start up a business, a cross-border business where you can profit of currency arbitrage and grow your business across the continent. So CPayant is just that one app that can transform your business, transform payments and experience as a traveler across Africa for you. So moving on, you talked about design. So let's zero in on design. And yeah, like to talk about design. What does design mean to you?
I feel like for me, it goes deeper than, seeing beautiful things. I feel like design is a very powerful tool, to convey information, to tell a story. And my own philosophy is for you to tell the story without actually doing too much. You see, I'm a big fan of being minimalistic with the way you approach your stories. So design for me is on it goes deeper than just wanting something to look beautiful. As long as you really want something to look beautiful, I feel like design should also serve a function, in the subconscious. As and I want design, or for me, design is something that I really really prioritize in being very very simple in communicating what you want to be communicated. The human mind is not something that likes a lot of overload of information. So I like to always prioritize that with anything I want to design. Is as long as it is very very beautiful, but like how can you tell this in a way that is not overwhelming to the average person, in a way that a single glance can tell a story, in a way that a social media ad design can really communicate and resonate with the average person without having to do too much.
Thank you so very much. And I would like to give everyone listening free expo because I've been working with Razaq himself, and I will tell you, he's a very minimalist person. He always likes to declutter designs and make it like clear and kind of concise. If I would put it that way. So I understand from a personal or first-hand experience perspective when he's talking about what design means to him and how he doesn't want to overload people with a lot of stuff going on. So thank you so much for that. Now, still talking about design, I would like to, or I would like our audience as well to understand what inspires you about design. So, and beside what inspires you, like you must have heard of great artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. Of course, his famous painting, I think, on the roof of a church in Rome, still is still a monument to this day. So, are you particularly someone who's so deep into design as to being a fan of these great artists? And besides that, where do you draw your inspiration from?
Okay, that's really nice. I like to point out that I didn't necessarily start off as okay, I want to become a designer. It started off, as learning to, I wanted to learn how to code basically. So we started off with the HTML, CSS, and all that. But then it got to this part of JavaScript. I'm like, okay, I don't think this is for me because it was really really complex. And so at that point, I just had to like stop my journey for a while and say, okay, yes, I'm not coding guy. I don't really like what goes on there. So and then I would like to credit my sister for this. She mentioned it, sparingly. I was like, oh. I've never thought about, UI UX designing. And then at that point, I'm like, okay, what is that about? Like, you want me to do graphic design and all that? Which was like, no, you can just design, building websites. I'm like, how would I build website without having to code? So she was like, you don't necessarily have to know how to code, just use the software and then you can design. So I was like, okay, I was just going to check it out. So like it was just like a casual conversation where I didn't necessarily put a lot of thought into it at that time. So apparently one of those days I decided, okay, let me pursue this and see what this is all about. So I upped online and then I started, looking for materials and sources, on how to design. Okay, yes, I really like this. I resonate with this. I think this is my field and I think this is something I want to pursue further. So in that note, I like to say I wouldn't say I'm a really big fan of great artists like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Credits to them for they are really really great figures in the art space. But like I wouldn't really say I draw inspiration from them or I look at them and then use it to as a framework for how I design. So basically, I draw inspiration from anything around me. I feel like the greatest inspiration we can just have is our surroundings. You draw inspiration from what you are exposed to. You see the sky, you see how the clouds are, conveying the message without necessarily saying it in your face that they are conveying the message. You can see when it's about to rain, the way the cloud forms, you see that you look at the clouds and you see that and you think, oh yeah, it's about to rain. I feel like it's a really common saying about like God is the greatest designer. So I feel like I draw inspiration from what I'm exposed to as a designer. Because as a designer, you have to like keep up with trends. You have to know what people are doing. You have to see what people are doing. You have to know why they are doing what they are doing. So because design is not something that is static. It's not something that is always there, or I feel like it changes with time. We can decide to design something like this today because it fits our current meta or the current space through which we are designing in. And then in the next 4 or 5 years, it's not done that way anymore. So I draw inspiration from basically exposing myself to really, really great designers. I like to see what the current design trends are. I like to look at my surroundings and see how I can, translate what's going on into my surrounding into sending a message. Because basically, the way we interact with our surroundings, the surroundings are sending messages to us. When you're going out and it's windy, that's a message. When you are going out and it's raining, it's a message. And it's not like portraying it as saying, oh, I'm about to rain, you understand? So your exposure to designs, your exposure to your surroundings, and you can be a very, very observant person and see how something so little can convey something so big in form of an information. So that's it. Credits to Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. I really wanted to take up drawing when I was really, really young, but it was not my fault. But like they are really, really good designers as well.
Yeah. Thank you so very much for that. I would say, talking about being an artist and being a designer, I would say I was quite a prodigy when it comes to drawing. When I was a kid, when I was in my secondary school, I did a lot of designs, like during our 9 lessons and Caro. I know you must have had that too in your secondary school as well.
Yeah,
I drew a picture of Santa Claus coming to town, and I think when I did that, it was the best since we came into the school to that time, because I
yeah. That's
painted everything,
that's
the cloud
nice.
and everything. But I believe, I believe, like in retrospect, let's say, when I'm telling you about that right now, of course, as someone who has seen my designs in the early days, you'll be disappointed about how I turned out to be. So I think there is a bit of divide between like
Yeah,
being an artist, although the creativity will still be there, and then maybe you must have seen
definitely,
some creative burst in what I do
definitely.
as well. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for that, for clarifying how you draw your inspiration. So, still talking about design, I would like us to look at cartoons. They embody a lot of design concepts and they are animated as well. So, would it be right if we think about you as someone who loves cartoons and animations, stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm a really big fan. I'm a really big fan of cartoons and animations, and I like the art style too because I don't want to sound cliche, but the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse. I don't know if you've seen it, but like it has a really cool animation style, and it's not your conventional animation style. Like it's 3D, but it also has this quirkiness of a 2D animation style that and that's a really great blend when it comes to like when you're animating things. So like I'm a really big fan of animations and cartoons because I feel like it's also it carries like my philosophy of using your design to tell a story, using your designs, to communicate. And I I'm a great fan of the Spider Verse animations, and I really like them. Growing up, we watched this Justice League. I don't know if you're familiar, the OG Justice League with Superman and the Batman and the likes. So like I've always been exposed to animation, as a kid, and I would still say I think I watch animation more than I watch movies, to be honest, because with animations you can really portray things without having to spend a lot of money compared to when you're producing movies and all that. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of cartoons and animations, and I feel like they also embody a lot of design principles in bringing the story to life.
Thank you so very much for that. So, one last thing about design we would like to know is maybe you can be very straightforward about this. So,
Mhm.
where do you draw the line between good and bad design?
Like I said, for me it's always how can you convey what you want to convey in the simplest and most precise and clean, beautiful way. You see, for me, the line between good and bad design is basically a design that is overcluttered, a design that is filled with too much information, a design that is very overwhelming. I feel like when you have something that okay, yes, this is going on, and then there are lines, there are floating cards here and there, and all that. I feel like a lot of elements can be removed, and it can still retain that property of what you want it to do. Because in as much as we still think design is something that it's beautiful, it's something that is really great. I feel like the main purpose of designing or the main purpose of creating something is you want it to communicate something to someone. So and for communication, if you want to talk to someone, you don't necessarily go on and start rambling on the information all in one. If I just want to say how are you, I go straight to the point and let you know, oh, all what I want to say to you is how are you. I don't come here and start beating around the bush and start saying, oh, did you sleep or did you eat? The main purpose of the conversation I'm having with you is to let you know how are you. So then I expect a reply from you. So for every aspect of design that you want to do, if like it has to communicate something. What do you want it to communicate? And what is the shortest, simplest, and most beautiful way you can communicate that without having to add, additional elements that don't necessarily communicate what you want it to communicate. So a straightforward answer to that is just over cluttering. I don't like, over cluttering things. If it is not necessary, it doesn't have to be there.
Thank you so very much. In one word, simplicity and specificity
Yes.
is what
Yes.
makes a great design. So I've been a victim of cluttering designs. So yeah, maybe I believe I'm forgiven at this point. So
Yeah, no problem.
moving on, we would now talk about your experience so far at CPayant. So we particularly want to know what was your best day working at CPayant? And what was also your worst day?
Hmm. I think my birthday would be starting off, I started off as like a rookie, I would say. I've just designed products here and there. Some launched, some didn't, some were disappointing, and some were just outright, just not worth the time. And I feel like Supian gave me the avenue or the opportunity to really express myself in a place where I was given a full creative control into bringing out the vision of wanting to make cross-border payments simpler, faster without having to go through a lot of hassle. So the first 3 or 4 months where there was a lot of back and forth on how can we make this simple, because the main purpose of the app that we have now is simplicity. you want to send money to anywhere in the world, it is very, very fast. You don't have to go through extra steps. So the best day I would say is when we launched V2. V2 is the current application we have right now. And V2 was a complete overhaul of everything we used to have before. So the day of the launch was really, really, it was really something. So I think that was last year. I think around November-ish. Yeah, it was November last year. So I would say that was like my best day because it was seeing all my work from July, coming to fruition. And I went to tell people, oh yeah, there's this app on the Play Store and App Store that it was designed by me, and I want to. I was it was in as much as it was really, really fulfilling. It was also great to see what you design come to life and to see your philosophy and principles being applied to something that is used by thousands of people. The worst day I can't necessarily say I have a worst day, and I hope I don't, because it's been a great ride so far, and it's been really good. I mean, so far as it's in as much as it comes to design and everything, I feel like come what may, we will be able to overcome. So I can't say I have a worst day yet.
All
Not
right.
yet. I intend to have a worst day.
All right. We all hope we never have worse things, but I
Yeah.
think I could share in your experience because that's usually the proudest moment for someone, a creative building is seeing your work out there and just kind of admiring it and also pointing it to others
Yeah.
to, come see my work. It's out there. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think I understand that feeling. So, lastly, because you've answered the question in the process, so we'll now move on to your recommendation. And if there's someone out there who's trying to figure out, how to send money across borders, maybe in Africa, and how to also receive money across Africa. Also, that could be someone who is also looking to pay suppliers or manufacturers, as the case may be, across China, Vietnam, Hong Kong, and the likes. What would you say to them?
I feel like my first question is just going to be: have you heard of CPayant?
Okay.
Because I mean, that would be my first question. Because I mean, have you heard of that? Because I mean, I know an app that can basically do all this in seconds, and you don't necessarily have to wait for 3 to 5 business days or anything, and also charges low fees compared to conventional banks or other competitors. So my question to that person would be: have you heard of CPayant? And if they say no, and I say, okay, yeah, well, CPayant is a cross-border platform that lets you do all this in seconds. So go download the app.
You heard that right, everyone. CPayant is that app that lets you send money across Africa in seconds. It gives you about 90% lower fees, and it has bank grade security that protects your money from the points you sign up and complete your KYC. You have nothing to fear or worry about insofar as you are using CPayant. So CPayant is basically a cross-border payment app, a neobank, if you would like to put it that way, that has you covered when it comes to paying across Africa and sending money overseas to China, Vietnam, Hong Kong. And for doing that at the moment, you just have to send an email to transactions@cpayant.com. So thank you so much, Razaq, for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your insights with us. And we really hope that we would have to see your face once again, not behind the scene, as we would always, of course, get to enjoy your beautiful designs, but talk to us on maybe something else, maybe the same thing in the future. So thank you so very much. It was such a pleasure discussing with you. And for everyone watching, like I would always say, CPayant is that one app that, makes trade across borders, payment across border, anywhere in Africa, 50 plus countries and counting. You can just, it's just a click away to send and receive money. And it happens in such a way that you just have to admit the difference when you compare to traditional payment or any other means you've been using. In my last discussion with a user of CPayant, he talked about the risk of an exchanger when he would want to send huge amount of money and he gets scared if they would maybe disappear with his money or he would be scammed or something. But with CPayant, he has been able to, pay seamlessly. When there is an issue, he instantly gets support right from the app. So CPayant is just, I'll leave you to see the rest for yourself. So thank you so much, Razak, once again. And that's where
Sure,
we
understood.
draw the curtain today. And we hope to bring another wonderful episode your way.